Section 1. You will hear a conversation between two people about an arts festival. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 3.
Look, Caroline, I picked up this leaflet in the library today. It's about a family arts festival they're holding in Eastfield in July. It looks really good.
Oh, that must be the thing Jane was telling me about. It takes place every other year, apparently, and it attracts thousands of people from the local area. She said it's really worth going to.
Yes, this must be it. Look, there's loads of different things on.
Let's see. Lots of different types of music, dance, comedy, theatre, cinema, whatever you fancy, really. Yes, you're right. There's a huge variety.
Do you think there's enough to keep the kids happy?
Well, it's supposed to be a family festival. Look, there's storytelling for kids, circus skills, puppet shows, all sorts of things for them.
So, what do you think? Shall we all go and take the kids?
I think it's a great idea. How much are the tickets?
Well, I don't think you can get an all-inclusive ticket. It says here you pay separately for each different event you choose to go to, but it advises you to book in advance for the most popular shows, like the headline music acts. You can't just turn up and get tickets on the day.
So, we need to have a look at the programme and decide which ones to book.
Now answer questions 4 to 10.
OK, so I've got the booking form. Shall I put your name down?
Yes, that's probably easier.
OK, so, name. Alan Hardy. I can never remember your email address.
It's awh1163@mailgroup.com.
AWH163.
1163.
1163 at mailgroup.com. And which telephone number shall I put down?
My mobile is probably better. You can't remember that either, can you? It's 07894 734 556. Don't they want our address?
No, I think it's all done electronically, which is good.
What about the tickets? Do we pick them up on the door?
No, it says here that they'll email the tickets 6 weeks before the event.
Which events do you fancy going to?
Well, I must say it's quite hard to choose, but something I definitely want to see is the folk group The Stags.
Yes, they're the headline act on the first night. What do you know about them?
Well, they're a big group, 11 or 12 members, and they do a mixture of traditional and modern folk music. They play lots of different instruments. They're supposed to be fantastic live, and it's suitable for kids too. The tickets are £8.50, but I think there are reductions for children.
So I'll put down for 4 tickets for all of us, 2 adults, 2 children. What else?
Well, I thought the production of Robin Hood on the Saturday afternoon might be worth going to. It's by the Eastfield Theatre Society, and I've heard they're very good.
But that clashes with Gordon Hayburn. I really wanted to see him.
Oh, he's that singer-songwriter you like, isn't he?
Yes, I'm really keen to see him. He's fantastic.
I'll tell you what, I'll take the children to see Robin Hood, and you can go to see Gordon.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm not too keen on his style of music, and the children would enjoy the play.
So I'll put down 1 adult and 2 kids for Robin Hood. The tickets are only £5 for that. And we'll have 1 ticket for Gordon. He's a bit more, £7.50 each, but he's worth it. I've been wanting to see him live for ages.
Great. What about the Sunday? I think it might be nice to see the Irish drumming group Crash.
Yes, they look good, but I don't think I can book anything for Sunday. It's my mum's birthday, remember, and I should really spend the day with her.
Do you mind if I get tickets for me and the kids?
Not at all. Go ahead. I'll put all 3 of you down. The tickets are only £3.50. That sounds like good value.
It's a shame we can't go to more events, but I'm sure there'll be lots of other things on at the venues.
Yes. Well, I'll get this sent off today, shall I?
Section 2. You will hear someone describing a series of weekend activities at a hotel. Listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Ireland. It's great to see so many of you here today, and I'm delighted that you have decided to join us here at the Castle Hotel for our special Food Lovers Weekend. Before I tell you about the main events we have planned for you, I'd just like to point out that tea and coffee and biscuits are available at the back of the room, so please help yourselves. So, the weekend's events start straight after lunch, which you can take either in the main restaurant to my right or in the garden terrace, which you'll find to the right of the main reception desk. This afternoon we are very excited to welcome local chef Laura Gallagher to the Castle Hotel. Laura will be showing you some typically Irish ingredients, many from her own garden, and explaining how good food needn't cost a fortune. She's also going to demonstrate a few famous Irish dishes, including Irish stew. As you may know, Laura runs her own award-winning organic restaurant about 10 miles from here, and I know a few of you are planning to eat there tomorrow night. I can highly recommend it. So those of you who have booked for this afternoon's session should gather in the demonstration kitchen, which is to the left of the main restaurant, by 1:45 p.m, so that we can get going promptly at 2 p.m. And I'm sorry, a few people have already asked me, but this session is now full. However, there are still places on the city bus tour which will be leaving the hotel at 1:45. This will take you to all the main sites, and there will be a chance to stop off at the Riverside Museum and Cafe later in the afternoon. The coach will return from the museum at 5 p.m. promptly. Please note that entrance to the museum is not included, so you will have to pay on the door. But we do have a special discount, so that will be €8.50 rather than the usual €11.75. Tonight we have our 5-course seafood dinner in the main restaurant. Our head chef has really planned a treat for you. I've seen the menu and it looks fantastic. Please note that this is not at 7:30 as originally stated in your holiday itinerary, but at 8 p.m. There is a seating plan up in the main reception, so please check this before this evening so you know where you're seated. Oh, and one other thing regarding food. I've already had a couple of special requests from allergy sufferers, so please do let me know as soon as possible if you have any special dietary requirements. After dinner, starting around 10 p.m, if you still have the energy, we have Irish folk singer James Corrigan here to entertain you until the wee small hours. His family have been making Irish music for over 200 years, and he will treat you to both traditional and modern folk songs. He plays no fewer than 6 different instruments, including the bodhrán, a traditional drum, the tin whistle, and the Irish fiddle. Well worth staying up for.
Now answer questions 16 to 20.
Tomorrow will be an early start for most of you who have booked on our culinary tour of the region. The restaurant will be open for an early breakfast from 6:30 a.m, and the coach will be leaving at 7:45 a.m. We have a packed itinerary, and our first stop is at Mill Farm, where they still use traditional methods to make butter, cheese, and other dairy products. You will have a chance to try your hand at churning the butter and shaping it using traditional butter beaters. Our next stop is the world-famous Oyster Cafe, where you can sample fresh oysters and other shellfish. I'm hoping the weather stays fine for this, as it's such a beautiful setting next to the harbour wall, and you may be able to see some of the fishing boats coming in with their catch. That will just be a brief stop, as the highlight of the morning will be our stop at the famous Mount Rees Baking School, where Chef Jonathan Park will be showing you how to make Irish bread and giving you some other baking tips. I'm told that Jonathan has a few surprises up his sleeve, and I know that he's keen on audience participation, so be prepared to get your aprons on and hands dirty for that one. Our lunch stop will be the Waterside Restaurant. It's a beautiful lakeside setting, and if the weather's fine, you'll be able to walk around the lake after your meal. Although lunch isn't included in the trip, the restaurant is offering you the special price of a 2-course meal at only €25 per person. Our route home takes us through some amazing mountainous landscape, and there will be chances to stop and take photographs before our final stop at the Wakeford Food Centre, which is a true retail paradise for food lovers. They sell all sorts of exotic and local ingredients, and there are always plenty of tasting opportunities. Be prepared to part company with some of your euros. We aim to arrive at the centre in time for afternoon tea, if you can manage any after your lunch. Our return to the hotel will hopefully be by 6:30 p.m, and there will be a chance to relax for a while before dinner at 8 p.m. And so to Monday. Well, the trip to the local farmers market still has a number of free places, so please let me know if you're interested. The price for transport there and back is €5, but of course you'll need to take along plenty of cash for all your purchases. Unfortunately, we have had to cancel the talk from cookery writer Mariah Kelly as she is unwell. But instead, for those of you who are having the cookery demonstration this afternoon, we are offering you a chance to visit the Riverside Museum. Or you may just decide to spend Monday morning relaxing and enjoying the grounds here at the Castle Hotel. Lunch will be at 12:30, and then the coach to take you to the airport will leave here at 2:30.
Section 3. You will hear two students discussing an assignment. Listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Hi, Shireen. How's it going?
Oh, hello, Carlos. I'm okay, I suppose, but it's just that I've got so much work to do, and this morning my tutor set another project, and I've no idea what to do for this one.
What's it about?
Well, we have to choose a topic, but it's got to be related to transport in some way. I honestly have no idea. I was just going to the library to get some ideas.
I don't know if this will be any help, but I saw a TV programme last week about traffic problems. It was really interesting. You may be able to still catch it online.
What was so interesting?
Well, a lot of it was looking at congestion in different countries. I didn't realise it was so bad. Did you know that there are around 800 million vehicles in the world? I think that's what they said. And this figure is growing all the time by about 50 million every year, apparently.
That's amazing. What's going to happen to them all?
Good question. I think they said the number would double in the next 2 decades. And of course all that traffic causes congestion, which costs the economy millions. I think they said that in the US, it costs the economy $100 billion every year.
Well, they do drive a lot of cars.
Yes, but it's happening all over the world. In Moscow, they lose around $12 billion a year, and of course nations like China and India are growing all the time. More cars mean more time wasted sitting in traffic jams.
So what's the solution?
Well, there's been a great deal of research into the whole congestion problem, and numerous solutions have been put forward. For instance, in some Chinese cities, they restrict road use by banning certain motorists from driving 1 day a week, depending on their car registration number. And you know about the congestion charge in London, where you have to pay to drive in certain parts of the city.
Yes, but these don't really solve anything, do they? And they probably just get people more frustrated. I know I'd get annoyed if I couldn't drive into the city on certain days or had to pay.
Well, one of the interesting things they talked about on the programme was why we get traffic jams in the first place.
Surely it's just weight of traffic.
Well, yes, but you know sometimes you're driving along on the motorway and the traffic seems to be flowing freely when all of a sudden there's a traffic jam.
Yes, I always assumed it was due to an accident or a breakdown.
Not necessarily. Scientists have been looking at this for years and have used all sorts of computer simulators to recreate the situation on the road. Until recently, they thought the same as you, that congestion was caused by sheer weight of traffic. But they've now discovered that it's also due to driver action.
Do you mean bad driving?
No, it's more to do with unpredictable actions. Suppose a lorry suddenly changes lanes or something else happens that you're not expecting. Well, this can have an enormous effect, apparently.
How exactly?
Well, what they discovered was that under certain conditions, if just one driver overreacts to an event like that by braking too hard suddenly, This can then set off a reaction that will send shockwaves for miles back down the motorway.
How come?
Well, when the first car brakes, the car behind has to brake too, and so on, until the cars start to gather in clumps. That's how you get those stop-start congestion waves, which can eventually result in gridlock when all the traffic comes to a standstill.
And is it only motorways that are affected?
No. Any road junction where two or more lanes of traffic join together can cause problems. For example, as vehicles join a motorway, they tend to cut across lanes, which causes other cars to slow down or brake. This can affect vehicles miles behind on the motorway.
Now answer questions 25 to 30.
So, is there anything that can be done about it?
Well, one measure that has been introduced is on the M25 motorway, which goes round London. They've set up a system whereby experts use real-time data collected from monitors on the motorway and analyse it in order to set speed limits.
So they're looking at live action on the motorway?
Exactly. Because they're working in real time and reacting immediately to the situation on the road, they hope to alleviate problems before they happen. So as the traffic gets heavier to the point where these waves of congestion are likely to form, the controllers monitoring the situation set speed limits at, say, 50 or 60 miles per hour to regulate the flow. Further back down the motorway at the back of the congestion zone, they set a lower speed limit, say 40 miles per hour, which should theoretically help control the traffic through the problem area.
But traffic jams still happen on the M25, don't they? I was in one a few months ago and we were at a standstill for ages.
Yes, of course. Sometimes there are simply too many cars on the roads. I think what the programme said was that the ideal number of cars on the road is no more than 2,000 per lane per hour, something like that. Theoretically, this should keep traffic moving smoothly at all times. But of course, the number of cars on the road far exceeds this. I think there are some sections of the M25 which have up to 200,000 vehicles a day.
So basically we need to reduce the number of cars on the roads. Well, that's not likely to happen, is it?
No, but researchers are still looking into car technology that might help. As most congestion waves are caused by drivers braking too hard suddenly, the idea is that you install radar on the outside of the car and an onboard computer. The driver would activate the system when signs alerted him or her to a possible congestion zone. Then the computer would take over and then take control of the braking and acceleration. Because it can react much faster than a human driver, in theory, it would control the car smoothly through the zone.
A bit like an autopilot system.
Yes.
Well, it does sound interesting. Do you think I could do something with this for my project?
Why don't we have a look to see if we can find the programme online? That should get you started.
Section 4. You will hear someone giving a lecture about the number pi. Listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 34.
Today, in the first in the series of talks about significant numbers, I'm going to talk about pi. As a mathematician and engineer, I find many numbers fascinating, but for me, pi is probably the most interesting. So, what is pi? Well, as all of you will probably know, pi is what you get if you divide the circumference of a circle, that's the distance around the outside edge, by its diameter, that's a straight line through its centre. And as most of you will also have learnt in your maths lessons at school, that number is usually calculated to 2 decimal places and is commonly recognised as 3.14. But what you might not know is that this number is infinitely long. That is, if you keep on dividing the circumference by the diameter, you get a never-ending number. Pi is sometimes represented as the fraction 22/7, which only gives us an approximation of the ratio. This figure has given us in Europe Pi Approximation Day, which is celebrated on the 22nd day of the 7th month, that is, July the 22nd. However, in the United States, World Pi Day is held on March the 14th, which in American date notation is written as 3/14, representing the first three figures of the decimal representation of pi. Many educational institutions hold special events on these days. First, I'll talk a little about the significance of pi. Pi has fascinated scholars, mathematicians and scientists for thousands of years, and for many, this fascination involves calculating its value with increasing precision. It has numerous practical uses. One of the reasons pi is so well known and studied is that it can be found in so many different formulae. As its ratio relates to circles, it is essential in both trigonometry and geometry, and can also be found in dozens of formulae relating to physics, cosmology, electromagnetism, engineering, geology, probability, and statistics. So, let's have a brief look at its history. Well, we have to go right back to the ancient Babylonians to see that some understanding of pi has been around for a long time. As they were building their city, the ancient Babylonian town planners took a great interest in geometry, and as far back as the 20th century BCE, they discovered that if you divide a circle's circumference by its diameter, you always get a number in the region of 3. Their exact calculation gave this ratio a value of 3.125, which is only 0.5% outside the true value of pi. We have numerous historical accounts of pi. One of the earliest dates back to the 2nd century BCE and is on an ancient Egyptian papyrus scroll. This version of pi is in fact a copy of an earlier document and, although not entirely accurate, is within 1% of its true value at 3.160.
Now answer questions 35 to 40.
Over the years, numerous notable mathematicians and scientists have worked on defining the value of pi. The famous Greek scholar Archimedes, working in the 1st century BCE, took a theoretical approach to the study of pi. He devised a system for working out the value of pi using polygons, that is, a flat shape with at least 3 sides or angles. This is why it is sometimes called Archimedes' constant. After Archimedes, mathematicians, scientists and astronomers from India, Persia and China attempted to calculate the pi ratio, but it wasn't until the 16th and 17th centuries that the development of infinite series techniques allowed far more precise calculations. It was early the following century that a little-known Welsh mathematician by the name of William Jones, a contemporary and friend of Sir Isaac Newton, actually gave the ratio a name, suggesting pi, after the 16th letter of the Greek alphabet. The 18th and 19th centuries saw 2 significant breakthroughs for pi. The first was in 1761, when the Swiss mathematician Johann Lambert established that pi is an irrational number. This means that it cannot be expressed as a fraction of 2 whole numbers. The second breakthrough occurred in 1882, when Ferdinand von Lindemann, a mathematician from Germany, demonstrated that pi was transcendental. This means that it is not possible to find a square with an exactly equal area to a given circle. It was another German mathematician, Ludolf van Ceulen, who, back at the beginning of the 17th century, calculated pi to 35 decimal places. This achievement really set the ball rolling for the sometimes obsessive quest by mathematicians the world over to find the highest number of digits when calculating pi. Some have devoted years of their lives to this cause, with varying degrees of success. William Shanks, who was not even a professional mathematician, spent around 20 years to calculate pi to 707 decimal places. His achievement was discredited after his death, when it was discovered that he had made a mistake and only the first 527 digits were correct. This error was discovered in 1944 using one of the first digital calculators, and the computer era revolutionized mathematicians' ability to find ever-increasing numbers of digits. Throughout the mid-20th century, the record for the number of digits was broken repeatedly until 1973, when over 1 million digits was reached. Since then, the record has gone on to be broken a number of times, many of which used multi-million-pound computers. The record is now around 10 trillion digits. That's 10 followed by 12 noughts. One of the most notable achievements was by a Frenchman called Fabrice Bellard, who in 2009 developed a new formula to calculate pi, which has subsequently become known as Bellard's formula. This enabled him to calculate pi to 2,700 billion decimal places. What made his achievement so amazing was that the software programmer used his £2,000 desktop computer, taking 131 days to complete the calculation. His record has since been broken a number of times. Finally, one other notable achievement that might interest you was by a research student, Lu Chao, who in 2005 memorized and recited pi to 67,890 digits without making a single mistake. The feat took the postgraduate just over 24 hours to complete. So, as you can see, pi is a fascinating number. Moving on now, let's talk a little more about pi's relevance to everyday life.